Okay, let's begin. I'm Liz McDade, a huge Columbo fan and a small business owner living in Santa Cruz, California. And with me is my brother.
I'm Paul McDade, an editor, assistant editor, sometimes actor, working in the TV and film industry in Los Angeles. And this is Trenchcoat Cigar Peugeot, Wandering with Columbo. In each episode, we'll bring you a little Hollywood history, glamour, and behind the scenes as we walk you through Columbo, one of America's greatest detective series.
Woo-hoo.
This is going to be from season 2, episode 7. Is it The Most Dangerous Match or Most Dangerous Match?
I think it's Most Dangerous Match.
The Most Dangerous Match.
The Most. Okay.
Yeah. Aired March 4th, 1973. And tonight's snack is escargot.
Woo-hoo.
And the drink is white wine.
Yes.
What you got, Liz?
All right, Paul. Okay, so I was kind of curious to try escargot, but not curious enough. So what I did is I made a vegan escargot, which is basically a baked mushroom that's drenched in an herb butter sauce. And then I baked it with like a sliver of tomato behind it to give it kind of a snail shell look. And I got to tell you, it's pretty good. I'm going to take a little bite here. It's pretty good, Paul.
How long did you bake it?
Just 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just cut the mushrooms in half. I made the herb butter. I put the tomato. I put them in a little cupcake tin. So it was like, instead of a cupcake, it was like half a mushroom and a slice of tomato. Herb butter. I like it, and everyone, so I gave it to my girls, to Elliot, and my in-laws, and everybody really liked it. It's pretty good.
So yeah, we have real escargot, the real snails. They are from...
So cool, Paul.
We wanted to go to like a restaurant. There's one in Pasadena, a bistro here. It's supposed to be very good.
A French bistro?
Yeah. She told me that you can do like a pickup, so I bring it back home, but that they were closed tonight. So I don't know if it was something for the Oscars that's, I think, going on tonight. So they were closed down for the public. And then there was one in Eagle Rock. This one was in Pasadena, I think South Pasadena. And there's another one in Eagle Rock. And they said those you have to eat in the restaurant. I think it's because it probably won't be as good.
Oh, yeah.
If you put it in a container and all that stuff. So, but St. John, my wife, she had gone, she, as you know, helps out. She's really a wonderful chef.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. Not nearly as good as her. So she got some that were in a jar. And she put garlic, butter, mushrooms. And I've had 2 so far, and they're really delicious.
Awesome.
Really good. Yeah. And she got some cheeses and some really nice bread. We'll put the picture on Instagram. That's gluten-free. French cheese mimolé. Or no, it's from it's from France. It's aged 1 year. It's like an orange cheese. And then a Germain Langres cheese. I haven't tried those yet. So,
awesome.
And then the wine is Menito Salon. The domain is Olivier Fischer. And it's really good.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a wine, a Chardonnay. It's a California Chardonnay, Chateau Sauvignon, and it's good. It's not as buttery as I thought it would be. I usually think of Chardonnays as kind of buttery. This one's a little bit more acidic, but it's still really nice, and it goes nicely with the fake escargot.
I feel like Tomlin Dudek now eating these.
Good.
Because they're so big.
I know, that's the goal. How's the texture on those snails, Paul?
It's nice. It's chewy, but it's not like gamey or like tough.
Yeah.
It breaks down very easily.
Okay.
Yeah. Incidentally, in one of the movies that Laurence Harvey was in, the lead won Best Actress, Julie Christie, for Darling. There's 2 main males, Laurence Harvey and Dirk Bogarde. She steals escargot in the film. Oh. Like she goes to a store and steals a bunch of stuff. Really good film. I tried to watch it years ago when I worked at a video store called Video Adventures in Milwaukee. And I think I watched part of it, and sometimes I just get busy and do other stuff. That was a really good movie. John Schlesinger, the director. So, but I'm Jack Krushen. I'm Tomlin Dudek tonight.
Tomlin Dudek. Excellent. Yeah, that was the goal. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the scene. But as you, dear listener, know, we try to...
Mr. Clayton.
We try to have a snack inspired from the episode, snack and a drink. And before we get into the episode, we also have a segment called Smoke Signals, where we tune in to our listeners. And tonight we thought it would be fun to just do a quick shout out to our listeners who are all over the world. And we are so thankful for you. So I'm just going to quickly go through all the different places that people are tuning in from. So we have folks listening in Australia, Austria, the Bahamas, Barbados, Belgium, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, the Czech Republic, France, Germany, Hungary, India, Ireland, Italy, Morocco, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, the Philippines, Poland, Puerto Rico, Russia, Singapore, South Africa, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Taiwan, Thailand, Trinidad and Tobago, the UK, the US, and that's it. So
Scotland is part of the UK, right?
Yes, yeah. So hi everybody, thank you for tuning in from all over the world. We're so happy to have you here listening in. And as you know,
so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And we'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at trenchcoatcigar@gmail.com. Let us know what you love about Colombo, or you're also welcome to correct us if we've made any kind of error, which happens, or just share your thoughts about previous episodes or upcoming episodes. So thank you, dear listener. We're so grateful for you. All right, Paul, do you want to give a summary?
Sure. A chess master, Emmett Clayton, attempts to murder his competitor, Tomlin Dudek, and make it look like an accident. When his first attempt goes wrong, he has to try again. Columbo is onto him because of a toothbrush, and when Clayton assumes Dudek is dead.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into this episode. So it starts off with a dream. Emmett Clayton, the chess master, is standing on a life-size chessboard, and he's frightened by the giant chess pieces all around him. And one of the chess pieces coming towards him is his competitor, Dudek. And this startles him so much that he's like fallen to the ground, and he rolls away from it, and he actually rolls in real life out of his bed onto the floor because he's so freaked out by it. And he's wearing this like kind of sexy bathrobe. He's got it like partially open. A little bit of a heartthrob vibe coming off of him. The dream is really cool. It's got these like dreamy vibes, this weird like color filtering the whole scene. I don't know if you had thoughts about it, Paul, about that opening.
Yeah, no, I loved it. It preceded Harry Potter. They had a whole thing on that, and Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits has a huge, ending sequence on a chessboard similar, where the little boy can ride the characters that are on the chessboard.
Oh, cool.
And when the little boy wakes up, there's a little chessboard on the ground. Everything in his room was in his dreams and stuff. But I loved the figures and the faces, like not only Dudek sort of being dressed up in this sort of white uniform with medals, but also one of the king kind of looked a little bit like him too, with the mustache. So the budget of that, wasn't small, I don't think, but it was really well done how they would move across and him being upset by. So I love that we're actually in the villain's mind, and you sort of see what's going on, like what's motivating this person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a nice way to introduce the main character's dilemma, like what he's struggling with. And I got to say, I'll talk about a couple of the other rooms in this episode, but I love the sets of the hotel rooms. They're very, I'm pretty sure these are the actual hotel rooms of the Sheraton Universal Studios at the time. And they have beautiful, it's these images have come back in fashion, right? So there's like botanical wallpaper with matching bedspreads and these like, cool shades of green and coral. It's really pretty. So it's kind of a fun backdrop for his bad dream. I thought I would talk just a second about chess. I just have a couple of facts. I am going to talk about a chess master also, but I wanted to say, one, it is a sport, although it's not an Olympic sport, but chess is considered a sport. And players who go to multi-day tournaments burn thousands of extra calories, and they'll actually lose weight during these tournaments because of how hard they are thinking.
I bet.
And then, we talk a bit about David Koenig's book, Shooting Columbo.
Yeah.
He talks about what was happening in society at the time that this was, around the time that this was filmed. So, and I'm just going to say a couple things from his book. So at this time, Bobby Fischer was a very eccentric American chess champion, and he was having, so there was the match of the century happening in 1972, and the series of games marked the first time a chess competition was ever broadcast in the U.S. in primetime, with reporters from around the world breathlessly covering the drama. And interest in chess rose to an all-time high. So that was kind of what was happening that might have helped inspire this episode.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can totally see that, the parallel. But there's been a couple movies lately, now about that whole match and stuff. Probably some documentaries too.
Yeah, probably.
But I always remember, did you ever see Searching for Bobby Fischer?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that was excellent. I've seen it a couple times. Steve Zalian, considered one of the best living screenwriters. I don't know if he's still up there, but he's up there with William Goldman, American screenwriters. But it has a lot of sort of it's based on a true story, but it's really about this young chess champ. But throughout the film, he talks about Bobby Fischer. So there's this narration thread of who Bobby Fischer was and what he was interested in. It's really well done, and it makes you interested in Bobby Fischer, even though the movie isn't really about him at all. Right. It's about this family and this boy who's really good at chess.
Cool.
And there's a newer one with Tobey Maguire that's probably really good. I think, I'm not sure if he plays, it's called Pawn Sacrifice. He does play Bobby Fischer, and Liv Schreiber plays Boris Spassky.
Okay. Yeah, that was the competitor in the match of the century that I mentioned.
Yeah, and Edward Zwick directed it. A lot of different writers. Peter Sarsgaard is in it, who's a phenomenal actor. I haven't seen the film, but Michael Stahlbarg, I love that guy. But yeah, I'm sure it's a good film if you want to find out, sort of see a dramatic reinterpretation of the whole situation, which this film kind of plays with. Yeah,
we'll include show notes for the movies that we talk about, Searching for Bobby Fischer. And what was the last one you just mentioned, Paul?
Pawn Sacrifice.
Pawn Sacrifice. All right. Well, Paul, it's time to meet the press. A ton of reporters and photographers are on the scene at this hotel to interview Clayton as he gets off the elevator the night before his big match against Dudek. This was filmed at the Sheraton Universal Studios Hotel, which they used in the last episode too. It doesn't look exactly the same, but you can find some older photos of it online.
Yeah, I've been here before. The Editors Guild, when we were thinking of going on strike a few years ago, well, recently we were thinking about it, but before that, we all had a big meeting there.
Oh, cool!
And it was to talk about stuff. So it was kind of cool just to see everybody in the house, like all your union assistant editors and editors and sound, editors, I believe. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. Did you recognize any of the scenes in this film, in this episode, Paul?
No, I think because we might have been in a new part of it. We were definitely like where you would have like a dance, but now there was just chairs in there. It was like a big room, with a stage like and stuff. Room. Yeah. So I don't think there's a scene where they go into a place like that.
I'm sure it looks pretty different today. Well, anyhow, the reporters are gathered around Clayton and the photographers, and they're asking him how he feels about this match. And he tries to come across as very relaxed and casual. And then Dudek, his competitor, comes off the elevator. So Clayton loses all of his press except for one guy who sticks with him to ask him a couple more questions. I didn't write down this actor's name of the reporter who kind of stuck by Clayton's side, but I thought he did a nice job.
Yeah, he's great. They don't have pictures of the journalists. The first reporter, it says Richard Drought Miller. I'm thinking that might be him. But the first reporter is Richard Drought Miller, and then Manuel de Pina is the second reporter. So I think that tall guy who interviews him and follows him is either Richard Drought Miller. But yeah, he was great.
Yeah, he did a good job. He was very convincing.
Might be Manuel de Pina.
Mm-hmm. So it seemed like a little bit excessive number of members of the press, but
Well, wasn't the Bobby Miller stuff like that, or the Bobby Fischer?
Yeah, but that's what I was just going to say, that, maybe Bobby Fischer, that was just recently happening, so that might have been what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do another go down a little rabbit hole about who the current chess champion is. His name is Magnus Carlsen. He's from Norway. He has been the world champion since 2013.
Oh, wow.
He's a pretty young man. You can play him if you want, Paul. He created an app called Play Magnus. And you basically play a chess engine, which is based on thousands of Magnus's games. So they put all that data into, the app database, and then you can go up against him.
We should get Dad to do that.
I know, huh? He's or Andrew, our brother Andrew, is also good at chess.
Felix, my son Felix, he does. He's done some chess matches. Him and Larry, but they haven't played in a while.
He might like to play that too. I was reading a little bit about him, and he got good. He would play chess by himself when he was growing up. He'd play, probably for hours a day. He's also really good at fantasy football. We call it soccer here in the U.S. And apparently he finished the Fantasy Premier League game, which has millions of participants, in 10th place in 2019. He said it was due to luck, but I mean, come on, this guy's probably pretty smart cookie.
Yeah, he's thinking of something.
Yeah. Numbers. Oh, and he's mostly vegetarian.
Oh.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And then, this is all from Wikipedia, by the way. Also, there has been a world chess champion since 1886. And we have an international federation. It's called the International Chess Federation, or FIDE, which has organized the World Championship since 1948, except there was a gap from 1993 to 2006 when the reigning champion, Bobby Fischer, challenged their approach and their tournament organizations, basically just refused to participate in their championship. And so there wasn't your regular world championship for a while. But anyhow, when this Colombo was created, the World Championship would have been under the control of the International Chess Federation, which held championship matches every 3 years. Now it's every 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's just a little info about how these championships work. So the writers of Colombo did a good job of sort of capturing it's a big deal. It's an international affair, and it doesn't happen every year. And in this scene, so going back to Colombo, in this scene, we meet Dudek's team, including Linda Robinson, his assistant, and Emmett Clayton's ex-girlfriend, plus Dudek's coach. And we learn that Linda hates Clayton. She thinks he's completely self-absorbed. And she and Dudek are quite close. They have like a very friendly, warm relationship.
Yeah, her mom, he knew her mom.
Yes.
They were friends.
So, I always love to notice the costumes, and in general, they're kind of subdued in this episode. Linda is wearing a rust-colored wool skirt suit with a yellow blouse underneath. She's also wearing a yellow tie, which I thought was kind of cool. But in general, the outfits are not super colorful or glamorous. The men are wearing kind of standard business suits and pretty standard colors, pretty muted colors.
It's Grady Hunt on this one.
Okay.
Grady Hunt was the costume and wardrobe.
Okay, yeah. So we meet Dudek's team, and then in this scene, we also see that Dudek is trying to sneak away from his team, and we get to see a little bit of the inside of the Sheraton Hotel. I don't know, did you notice there was a sign, Dudek is standing right under a sign inside the hotel, and you can see what the businesses were. I don't know if you
I didn't notice.
So there's a store called the Back Street, which is, quote, feminine attire.
Oh, okay, I did see that. Yeah, but now I remember. Yeah,
and there's a coffee shop. There's the Four Stages restaurant, and there's a Portuguese bar and lounge. So there's a few different places.
Very unique.
Very unique. You know, a really cool factoid, we'll put this on our Instagram. You can see the menu to the Four Stages restaurant. You can see the vintage menu from like the 60s online. And you could even buy an original menu if you wanted. And I was chatting with the kids about this menu. It has something called man sandwiches on the menu. A hot brisket of corned beef, grilled Reuben, 3-decker club, hot sirloin of beef. So I guess those were, they're man size. So I guess you had to be a man to eat them. No, not really. But guess how much a dry martini cost back then at the Four Stages?
99 cents?
Close. $1.15.
Ah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
You want to go? We can go right now.
I'll meet you there in 4 hours. We'll put a photo of the menu online.
All right, you better, Liz.
I will.
Keep saying this, and we don't see these pictures.
It's not there anymore, I don't think. I think they have some more modern, no more man-sized sandwiches on the menu.
It sounds like the sandwiches I would make at Zingerman's in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The brisket and corned beef and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Paul, it's time for a walk.
Let's do it.
You ready to stretch your legs?
Yeah, I need it.
All right. So we're going to head out. Dudek leaves the hotel, and Clayton follows him. And Dudek walks to the Kosherama restaurant, and Dudek follows him in there. And this was filmed at the exterior, I want to point out, was filmed at the Kosherama restaurant in Burbank, California, 3803 Riverside Drive.
Oh.
It's demolished.
Yeah.
Now it's a big office building. There's no more alleyway, or I can't find an alleyway where you see the guys come down. So Kosherama moved to Olive Avenue, 1520 Olive Avenue in 1984. Then that business became the Walk of Fame, WOK, it's a little play on words, in Burbank. It might have changed ownership and names in 2001. It's hard to know. And I think Walk of Fame is now closed.
Oh, so you said that was 3803 Riverside Drive?
3803 Riverside Drive in Burbank.
Okay, yeah, that's just north of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I think that's not far from Universal Studios either, right?
It's a little more north, but yeah, it's not too far. They're kind of close to each other. Yeah, they're actually right next to each other because the back of Universal is right next to the front of Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Well, I found a Los Angeles Times article on Kosherama. So basically, Kosherama was a fusion Chinese Jewish deli. And it was quite popular with the movie people. So they would come in for their meals because it was, like you said, it was near Warner Brothers and it was near Universal. And like I said, the owner, Chow, lost this location in 1984 and moved a few miles away to Olive Avenue, but was still doing well until it changed ownership.
So they used an outside of a different restaurant and the inside of a different restaurant?
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's because it was Paul's French Bistro, but they wanted the interior to look like this. This looks like an Italian restaurant for some reason.
So the interior, I'm pretty sure, is a French restaurant named Maison Gerard.
I'm totally wrong.
Well, you think with those red checker tablecloths, But that might be like what, how US portrays an Italian restaurant. But I'm pretty sure this was filmed. Well, IMDb says this was filmed at Maison Girard Restaurant. And I did find a couple pictures of the interior of Maison Girard Restaurant. So it has brick walls, brown leather, booth seating, lots of art on the walls, multiple rooms within the restaurant. The tablecloths are blue checkered, not red checkered. But that's just, one random photo that I saw. So I'm sure they could have changed their tablecloths over the years.
Sure. Or the set people could have, let's do this.
Yeah. Well, this is where we get our drink and snack inspiration. So Dudek says he's there. He's having good wine, bread, and snails. And you can see, I don't think he says white wine, but you can see that he has a glass of white wine.
Yeah. And that's what you're supposed to eat with escargot.
Oh, okay.
What you read.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think.
That makes sense. Because escargot is kind of a delicacy, kind of a light flavor. So I guess red wine could overpower it probably. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about wine. Anyhow, so Dudek is seated. He's got a napkin tucked into his collar. And he's got his snails. He's very happy.
Yeah.
I can relate to him. I can relate, you're like, all I want is like some really good food, a little peace and quiet.
Because he's diabetic and he's not supposed to be eating any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, he can have the garlic, but the other stuff.
Yeah.
The fried stuff, no.
Yeah. So he's sneaking away, eating all by himself. But he doesn't mind that Clayton has followed him there. And Clayton comes in and sits down. It's kind of a funny thing. Like, I don't know. I was just thinking, would somebody really do that? Like the night before a big match, would you want to go follow your competitor? And I feel like I would just want to lock myself away and concentrate and, mentally prepare.
Yeah. Well, if you have, I think if you have, that's because if he's already very successful, what pushes him to just, to do that? Mm-hmm. Peter Falk, in his autobiography, he says he followed Roddy McDowell and the other actors of a film or a play before he knew them, but he knew them from movies and stuff. And he was nobody at the time, and he followed them for like a block or two or something into a restaurant because he was so blown away by seeing them. Mm-hmm. And he's like, how am I different from them?
Yeah.
What do they have that I don't have? And it wasn't a jealous thing. It was more like an awe and respect, but he couldn't believe it was them.
Yeah.
And he wanted to ask them, hey, can you help me? Or I forget what he says in his autobiography, but he could hear the conversations. He literally would pretend like he was looking for something when they would stop in the street.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's a little different than this because Clayton's already a high-powered chess player. But I wonder, it's like the guy from that TV show recently who pretended like he got assaulted. I forget he worked on. Anyway, maybe that's a whole other thing. But yeah, people do different things for crazy reasons, But it's pretty intense. Like maybe it's like that itch, it was like an itch and he just couldn't,
right?
Because he's there. Mm-hmm. And what do? They just sort of like start talking about I don't know, maybe he's facing his fear essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Confronting his fear.
Well, we also know that he has a little bit of a temper and maybe a little bit of a impulse control problem, where he he loses it later on. So maybe this is part of he just can't resist the urge to follow this guy and, see where he's going.
Yeah. I think in real life, Laurence Harvey was that way. He spent money that he didn't have for antiques, he had his clothes fitted down to the dime since he was young, since he was very young.
Wow.
He did this. He struggled he's not from London, but he moved there. But that gold bracelet that he wears, I'm pretty sure that's one of the, that's like one of his real pieces of jewelry.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that somehow.
Yeah, I did only because in this book that I read called Reach for the Top by Anne Sinai. And I think that's actually his sister-in-law.
Oh, okay.
I'm not 100% on that, but I think so, because she has all these letters, and I could be wrong, but I think that she has she had the same path as him. She was in Lithuania and then moved to South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Which is what he did as well.
Yeah.
But was a reoccurring theme for Laurence Harvey, was he didn't know how to, like, he drank a lot. He could be violent. His first, I think, I'm not sure if it was his wife, this one British actress, he would hit her. I don't know if he carried that on with the couple other wives that he had, but he was he had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, that story you shared, Paul, about Peter Falk following his heroes around, I mean, that very much could have helped, lay the groundwork for this storyline that Clayton follows Dudek in the same kind of way.
William Lincoln and Levinson wrote this with Jackson Gillis.
Okay.
So those are the three of the main heavy writers for Columbo. And then the editor guy, Edward Ambrams, was the director of this one.
Oh, right. I saw that.
He did the Spielberg one.
Yeah. So back to the scene here, they start talking, and then Dudek starts a chess game by pushing out his salt shaker. Clayton follows with the pepper shaker. And then they're using snail shells, black olives, little bottles of something, I don't quite know, and even a square of yellow cheese, which looks a lot like the cheese you're having tonight, Paul.
It looks like that those are hot sauces, I think, maybe.
Oh, hot sauces, okay.
Maybe.
At a French restaurant?
Yeah, probably not.
I don't know what they are. Little bottles, who knows? A little square of cheese.
Yeah, that would be weird, huh?
I mean, I don't
know.
Sauce. I don't know anything about French cuisine, so... Hey, if you know about French cuisine, let us know. Is there hot sauce at a French restaurant?
We have to find out what those bottles are, though.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and freeze frame.
Maybe back then it would be. Maybe, I don't know.
Or maybe this French restaurant, is more like Americanized, or I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities there. Well, they start playing chess with all these little snail shells and bits of food. And Clayton starts to get irritated by the music. Mm-hmm. And I think he's starting to realize, like, Dudek is quite a competitor.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah. So he turns his radio off and he's reading lips. They shut down the restaurant and the proprietor asks them, please, to go. So now it's time to go back to the hotel.
That guy's interesting, by the way, the proprietor. He's very indifferent to it all. You know what I mean? Like, even the famous chess players.
Yeah.
You kind of notice them, but he keeps his own interesting character. I like that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he has his own agenda. He's not like, this is my restaurant. You need this table. You're making a mess, I liked him too. I thought he did a good job.
Oscar Berge Jr.
Yeah, he was good. He was convincing. Well, they head back to the hotel together, and we get a nice view of the exterior of the Sheraton here, which, like I said, doesn't look completely identical today, but you could definitely recognize where this was filmed. And outside the hotel, they decide they don't want to be seen walking in together. So they sneak in past the trash compactor room, garbage room, and up to Clayton's room. And I kind of like this. They cut to Dudek's coach looking for Dudek. And Clayton comes to the door. He's in his robe again. I think he's in his robe again.
Yes,
yeah.
He is.
And he's like, why are you waking me up? Like, what the heck? He denies that Dudek is in the room with him. But then we see that Dudek is in the room with him. And they're still playing their chess game. And we see pretty soon after that Clayton is clearly losing. He starts to freak out. He has like a flashback to his nightmare.
Yeah. There is one thing I would say about this, though. He points out all these moves, but I think any one move, so many different things can happen. And so I felt like as a competitor, as Clayton, I wouldn't assume that, oh yeah, I'd move this, this, and this, because he's saying like you would have to do this, then you would, and maybe that's a full play that they are showing us from a famous match or something, where these are the only moves. But Clayton's sort of arrogance and stuff, I feel like he would have been like, no, I'm going to move my pawn. Those two pawns that are in front of his knight or his king, I'm going to move this pawn up here, So, but maybe it's probably, I don't know. It's probably that's exactly, where he showed him like, you can't do anything here. I've got you beat by these moves already. It's set.
Right.
The trap has set.
Yeah.
Basically. So, but I was just thinking he'd be like, I'm going to move here, but obviously not.
Yeah, I saw this. So there's a trivia section on IMDb, and it does mention that, I can't remember if it's this play or not, but this episode of Columbo, they do reference some actual chess matches, but it sounded like they weren't perfectly recreating, a particular game. But I think the idea was that they were going to kind of recreate a particular game between the two of them, a real game that actually happened that would explain where all the chess pieces were and what the outcome would be. But I didn't go into a ton on that because I was like, well, it's a little over my head.
Yeah, so at this moment, though, you're talking about?
That's what I'm saying. I don't quite remember if it was this moment or if it was a little later when Clayton is playing like 10 people at once.
And he does cite other matches.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would make sense because you're always thinking, as many moves as you can ahead of all your pieces.
Yeah.
Dad and Andrew could tell us way better.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty good players.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then Columbo's playing checkers with the veterinarian. I love it.
I love that.
It's so cool.
It's so good. Yeah. So we cut to a checkerboard. Well, we should probably point out Clayton breaks. So Clayton clearly loses. Dudek is like, don't worry about it. Dudek leaves. Clayton freaks out, breaks his hearing aid. And then we cut to a game of checkers between Columbo and his veterinarian. And we see after a moment that Dog is laying down on an examination table and he's in for some procedure. This is a very studio-y scene. It's got like the classic slate blue that we see in some of the other scenes that are filmed on a studio setting. It looks a little bit more industrial style.
And the windows are kind of masked out, even though the light's there.
Yeah. And so we learn in this moment that Columbo got a call about the missing chess player because, as we mentioned, Dudek's coach is trying to find him the night before the match. And I guess he also called the police. But then Dudek turned up. But this is how Columbo is connected to this, what's going to happen. And it's kind of a short scene. We go back to the hotel. It's morning time. And we go back to Clayton. He's awake. He's tired. And he has this little memory. We see him remember the trash compactor room. And we see him start to scheme something. I like this, this when there's not a ton of explaining. I feel like this episode does a good job of not always just like completely spelling out to us what's happening. There's like little gaps that we kind of have to like figure out for ourselves. Like, for example, when the two of them sneak back to the hotel, we have to figure out like, oh, Dudek is actually in the room with Clayton. They're playing chess still. And then in this moment, we have to kind of, it's not that hard to piece together, but we have to figure out that Clayton is planning something.
Or you show him, Clayton, following Dudek. Why is he following him? Where are they going? Why is Dudek sneaking off?
Yeah.
We don't know that until later.
Yeah. I like that. This has never been one of my all-time favorite episodes, but there are these little moments that I like rewatching it, really appreciated again, or maybe for the first time, kind of appreciated this sort of side of it.
Yeah, I watched Laurence Harvey did a film with I think she was nominated for an Oscar. He acted with a few different women, and they would get nominated or win an Oscar. I think at least 3 different women, and he would never get nominated.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, so there was one called Summer and Smoke, directed by Peter Glenville, a really strong director, written by Tennessee Williams, James Poe, Mead Roberts. Mead Roberts is a really good writer. All 3 of them, of course, are great. But in Summer and Smoke, it's Geraldine Page. Yeah, Geraldine Page is wonderful. But I watched the film last night, and it's a beautiful film. It's like it wasn't. I don't know if it was CinemaScope or. So I had, was able to see it big. I projected it. But there are scenes with. So now my son's imitating me with his hand going up and down. And he's running away.
Hi, Felix or Larry.
Yeah, it was Felix.
Hi, Felix.
He just ran out of here. So there are these amazing scenes where Geraldine Page's character, she's enamored with she's a childhood friend of Laurence Harvey, and they're in the South, and there's this dialogue that goes on and on and on and on, and it's based on Tennessee Williams' play. Nobody probably wanted to truncate his work or edit his work down, right? That was probably sacrilegious to do something like that. That said, sometimes if you show more visual and eliminate all the dialogue, or some of the dialogue, I should say, it's a different medium. It's going to lend itself to us sitting down in a different way, like what you're saying, how you have to piece stuff together. Because even Geraldine Page, she's crying in a lot of the scenes, and she's so good. She's really feeling these emotions. She's putting her hands on the piano and trying to describe things. And her parents are both very religious, and her mom has a sort of klepto. Anyway, she doesn't have her parents sort of like mess with her way of thinking about behavior and social behavior and morals and all this stuff. And I thought these scenes where she's being dramatic and really in the moment would have been more effective if the lines had been either cut down or more visual filming.
Yeah.
Let's see their face without them saying any words. And it would lend itself so much more. And I watched another film recently that had none of these performers, and I thought the same thing. I was like, this goes from dialogue to dialogue to dialogue, which you do with a lot of great writers like Shakespeare or David Mamet, as a lot of people say. And it's just dialogue goes back and forth. So I like when writers like Jackson Gillis and Link and Levinson do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that too. It just kind of, as a viewer, it keeps you on your toes a little bit more, and like forces you to, I don't know, be there a little bit more, not just listening to the words, but sort of, appreciating the nonverbal.
Because it could be tiresome. It could be tiresome when it's just dialogue. Right.
Well, if we think back to A Short Fuse, the one about, the young inventor.
Roddy McDowell.
Yeah. That one, there are so many moments of dialogue because there's so much happening that has to be, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but there was like so many plot twists and plot points that had to be explained, and it was too much dialogue. It was too much explanation, and you're like I start to feel like I'm, being lectured to or something. I'm in a classroom, or it's just a different experience. So, this one, it's maybe a little bit more slow and a little less colorful than some of the other Columbos, but it does have these really nice moments where the viewer has to watch and follow along without being like dragged along through the plot. You have to kind of piece together what's happening. So it's fun. Okay, so back to the hotel, back to Clayton. He uses an old payphone to make a reservation for Dudek. He also calls Dudek. So there's a lot of bathrobes in this episode, which I'm okay with.
You guys don't have bathrobes?
No, we totally have bathrobes.
What's the big deal?
We don't film ourselves in bathrobes.
But they don't know they're being filmed, right?
You're right.
This is a whole other world.
You're right. Well, Dudek is wearing I'm pretty sure it's like a yellow fuzzy bathrobe, and he's shaving. He's got shaving cream all over his face when he gets a call from Clayton. And Dudek is so kind. I mean, we pick up on this at the very beginning of the episode, right? Where he's interacting with Linda Robinson, and he's telling her, I think it's the very beginning of this episode, he's like, oh, you got to let go of that anger or whatever. I'm totally paraphrasing here. Anyhow, in this moment, again, he's very kind. Clayton calls him panicking, freaking out, and Dudek tries to calm him down. He says, I'll come meet you. And he does. So Clayton has lured Dudek to the trash compactor area of the hotel. They're right in front of the doors. And he gets Dudek to write a note for him that is vague enough that it could be a note to an ex-lover, or it could be some kind of apology note, from Dudek to his, whoever. It's a vague enough note that it can be used for multiple purposes. So Dudek writes this note, and then Dudek is like, wait a minute, why do you have my briefcase? And then Clayton pushes him into the trash compactor room into the actual grinder machine.
And there's like a still, like it turns into a still and then kind of a zoom in, push in. But I thought that Tomlin Dudek, I loved it. So believable. His like, what's going on? You need some help? Like that he made it believable. Yeah. The kindness and the against his competitor, or to help his competitor, who obviously is bent out of shape.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. I thought that actor did a really great job. I don't know if you looked him up at all, Paul, but I was definitely convinced by his portrayal.
Yeah, Jack Krushen, I looked him up. He's great. So the Balkans is where, right, they're supposed to be from. So his accent, like his coach has a more Russian sounding accent, I would guess. And his sounds a little German. Wait, no, not German. I listened to a radio show called Suspense with Jack Krushen today, and he did a German accent.
Oh, cool.
I'm getting that confused. Yeah, Jack Krushen got a lot of jobs because he could do accents.
Oh, cool.
He played Ben Gazzara's father in Convicts 4, and it's could be a Polish accent. And by the way, in Convicts 4, the guy from the doorman from the British one that we saw,
Dagger of the Mind.
Yeah, who gets his cane stolen. He's in Convicts 4, and he's the one that gets murdered by Ben Gazzara. He runs a toy store, but he's great. Anyway, but yeah, Krushen was a radio person in New York, and he said on an interview that was one of the reasons he could get work, was doing accents, which is interesting because I think Laurence Harvey had difficulty, like Summer and Smoke, as I mentioned. He's supposed to be from the South, and he keeps up the accent. But here and there, the Southern accent goes away and it just sounds American. Or a couple times it sounded like a British word. Overall, he did good. Yeah. But there were a few times where the Southern accent's not there. It sounds like an American accent, but there's no Southern accent. Yeah. But I think he had that follow him his whole life because he grew up in Lithuania, and then to South Africa, and then to London. And I think he did get the British, like BBC, as they say, a BBC accent. So, but Krushen, I really like him as an actor. And he said in New York with other radio actors, they would always help each other. It was kind of like a family.
Oh, that's nice.
And he even compared it to communism. He said, we were like real communists, not like a dictatorship. He's like, but we really helped each other. I don't know if he actually was involved with any of those parties in the 50s, but he seemed to be, he got work for his whole life in movies and stuff. And ironically, I would say Harvey matches this character he's playing because he was very competitive and he was very outspoken towards film theater critics, towards other actors. Laurence Olivier cursed him out one time when he was bad mouthing Ralph Richardson at his own apartment, but he had invited Laurence Olivier and some other people over. He liked the attention, Laurence Harvey, and he liked to be number one when he was working with other performers, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shirley MacLaine did a film with him, and they both couldn't stand each other.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But a lot of the other performers did like him. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. But yeah, Krushen's great. They're both great.
I would love to hear a Krushen radio show of him doing different accents. That'd be so fun.
Well, you can get Suspense online. There's a podcast by a blind guy called Michael's Saturday Suspense. And he interviewed Krushen several times.
Oh, cool. What
I listened to today was a compilation of 3 different interviews or 2 different interviews, plus the Suspense radio episode that has, Krushen's playing awesome. This character called Anton Tesla. That's why I was thinking of Anton earlier. And he can read minds. It's like 15 minutes long, but it's a great little episode. A lot of those old radio shows are really good.
Okay.
They're
yeah, I bet.
Right.
That's all we had.
That's true.
Make them good. No, it's not all we had. I mean, we had movies then for sure and TV. But all right. Well, before we leave this trash compactor scene, I had to do a quick Google search to find out if anyone has actually died from a trash compactor. And unfortunately, Paul, yes, there have been a number of incidents of people
murdered.
Yeah. Dying. Yeah. No, actually.
All accidents?
Yeah, accidental deaths. So apparently there were 2. Okay, here's one example. In 2016 in Tallahassee, Florida, 2 months apart.
Where mom and dad met.
2 people. That's right. Not unrelated
Shout
to this.
To Tallahassee.
2 people, they didn't know each other, were probably asleep in a dumpster, so they were homeless.
Oh.
And a garbage truck picked up the dumpster and emptied it into the garbage truck, and then the garbage truck will do like a crushing motion. Oh. Yeah. So unfortunately, yeah. So that's like one example, but there've been a number of other examples of people unfortunately passing away from that. And there is a Reddit thread.
Uh-oh.
A person who survived.
Really?
Yes, survived. He was in a dumpster and ended up in the trash can. He was in the dumpster, ended up in the garbage truck, survived, had a lot of serious injuries, but he recovered. Maybe not fully recovered, but he recovered. And he did a Reddit Ask Me Anything thread. So anyone listening who's very curious about these sorts of things, you can Google and you will find his Reddit thread, Ask Me Anything, how he survived and recovered from a trash compactor accident. And then, of course, there's Star Wars classic scene of our Star Wars heroes getting dumped into a trash chute, trash zone, and then the walls coming in to compact the trash, which of course they all survive. That was most people probably know that came out in 1977. So after this episode, maybe this episode inspired that scene. Who knows?
Yeah. It's interesting because you think he's dead, and then right around here is where we find out that Dudek is still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another one of these moments.
Similar to Prescription Murder, also written by Levinson and Link.
Yes, that's
where
right.
Where the person is not dead yet.
Right, when the first attempt is unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Paul, it's time for a chess match.
Let's do it.
So Clayton is waiting for Dudek to arrive in a grand ballroom. I'm pretty sure this is probably one of the hotel's many conference rooms. It has baby blue wallpaper, floor to ceiling baby blue wallpaper, and matching carpet and chandeliers. It's a cool room. There's a crowd assembled, and everyone's in pretty subdued clothing, except one woman in the front row is wearing a black dress and some amazing knee-high patent leather red boots. I don't know if you saw that, Paul. I should have put a timestamp down because
I'm looking now and I see her. Yep, she's right behind Harvey. Almost.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But then we cut away and we cut to Columbo on the scene. He's standing outside the hotel, but he's at a different spot at the hotel. So again, we don't quite, as a viewer, like you kind of have to piece together what's happening and where he is. But Columbo's outside, and then he comes in to the trash compactor room, and he learns about the trash compactor. I think it's referred to as the latest gizmo. And we meet Sergeant Douglas, who, I don't know if you looked at this actor. I didn't even write his name down.
No, I didn't.
I did glance at his career because he looked familiar, and he had a long career as a working actor.
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
He was in Chinatown. He was in Sneakers. He did multiple episodes of Dynasty.
Network,
Rockford Files. And this was one of his first acting gigs. So,
wow.
Yeah, this was like
Mrs. Columbo. He was in Mrs. Columbo.
Oh, right, and Mrs. Columbo. We might have to watch that, Paul, and talk about that one.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a little nervous. I don't think I've ever heard anything good about that.
Yeah.
But, it might be worth.
He was in a night gallery, too, which also, right before this one, or same year. And this was one of Laurence Harvey's last performances. Mm-hmm. And the night gallery episode that Harvey did was also one of his last performances.
Yeah. That was so sad. I read about that, how he passed away from stomach cancer. Mm-hmm. Very shortly. It was like 8 months after this. He did this, right? Something really, like not even a year after he did this, he passed away.
Yeah, and the night gallery episode, it was the most watched one of that time. But he has a scene where it's really gross. He gets like this earwig, in his ear, yeah. Ah! And so supposedly in that Reach for the Top biography book I read, he didn't take any medication, so he could really feel the pain. And when you see the expression on his face, you're just like, because it has like a really twisted ending.
Wait, you're saying that there was a real earwig in his ear?
No. The stomach cancer that he had, he refused to take medication to reenact being in pain, but he really was in pain. And when you see the footage, you're just like, wow, he really looks like he's in pain.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a creepy little episode.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, it's dark. Very dark.
Eek. No, thank you. I'll pass on that one.
No, we should review that for our next episode instead of Columbo.
No.
We'll start a night gallery one. That might be fun.
Okay, well, let's get through the rest of Columbo, Paul. Okay. All right, we have a few episodes ahead of us here. There's some episodes I have not even seen yet, like some of the last Columbos I've never seen.
Same here.
I'm so excited.
Oh, by the way, this guy also played Bukowski
in
a short called Great Poets Die.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ben Gazzara played sort of a version of him too. Mickey Rourke, of course. Interesting.
I could see Laurence Harvey as Bukowski.
No, the young actor we were just talking about. Paul Jenkins.
Oh, okay, Paul Jenkins.
The one from Chinatown and Network and Sneakers and all that.
I wouldn't actually picture him as Bukowski.
It makes him a good actor, Liz.
Yes, you're right.
Changes everything, right?
Surprises me. It's good. Okay, so Columbo finds out about the trash compactor, and then he heads up to Dudek's hotel room, which I just want to point out also has beautiful wallpaper that match the curtains. And there's a pink sofa with red pillows. And I think the wallpaper and curtains and bedspreads from the Sheraton Hotel 1973 are all absolutely in fashion right now. Would look beautiful in any home. It's botanical. It's like pinks and reds and greens, flowers and leaves. It's really pretty. Anyhow, this scene, Columbo points out to the coach. The coach does not want to talk to Columbo, but Columbo points out this toothbrush dilemma because Dudek uses dentures and his toothbrush doesn't match the type of toothbrush that you would use for dentures. So, and then the physical trainer who's there says, that's my toothbrush. So now Columbo's on a hunt for a murderer or attempted murderer. And now the coach is like, oh, okay, I see why you're bothering me so much. I get it now. So now the hunt is on. Columbo is on it. And I don't know if you want to talk about the coach at all, Paul. This was probably one of his biggest scenes in the episode. I didn't write the names down.
I thought his accent was okay. I mean, it was good. It was strong in a lot of ways. I've tried to do a couple different accents. I can do like a friend who has a speech impediment. I can do his accent. So I don't know if that's really an accent. I could do anyway, I thought Lloyd Bochner, that's how you pronounce his name, was solid. It's kind of funny. I love that he was like, get out of here, get going, please leave. He's like, that was great.
Yeah.
I love their interaction. He was in a film called Point Blank with Lee Marvin that was John Borman's first Hollywood venture, I believe. That was a great film. I watched that. He plays like a higher up sort of bad guy. And it's one of Steven Soderbergh's favorite films. And you can really see Soderbergh's cutting style being very influenced by Point Blank. And Bochner is one of the main bad guys in that. And he was really good. And then I saw another movie he did with Frank Sinatra called The Detective, and he plays Dr. Robert. That was good. But yeah, I like the scene. I thought it really sort of, like you said, it is probably the only scene. When I first saw it, I thought the accent was a little like, I know that that's not his real accent.
Yeah.
But I thought it was convincing. Yeah, I liked how things turned here. So there's a lot going on in the scene. I thought it was a really good scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it too. I liked the coach's strong personality, like you pointed out. He's like, go now, get out. That was fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen that too much in the episodes I've seen so far, where, usually Columbo's able to convince everybody that I'm going to stay here and talk to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it might be this is a different scenario because the coach isn't under suspicion, right? He's just defending the victim in a sense. So he's got less reason to, go along with Columbo, less reason to sort of be, I don't know what the word is, but like more passive or more cooperative, right? He's got no reason to really cooperate. He's got nothing to hide. And kind of like in, we haven't gotten to it yet, but in the upcoming episode, there's a character who is similar to this coach.
Cool.
So, yeah. I won't spoil it for you because I don't know if you've seen the next one.
I don't remember this one. Yeah, Martin Landau.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we should go check in on Mr. Dudek, Paul. He's in grave condition. And the exterior of the next scene was filmed at the Valley Presbyterian Hotel in Van Nuys. There's a little sign outside the hospital that says Valley Circle Hospital. It's Valley Presbyterian Hospital, but it is shaped like a circle. The building is shaped like a circle. And this hospital is still standing. It's still shaped like a circle. The exterior is a little different. It's been remodeled a bit, but it's still the same general shape. So if anyone wants to check it out, it's Valley Presbyterian Hospital in Van Nuys, California. And Clayton goes to check on Dudek because he's like, oh no, this guy's still alive. This is not good. And he bumps into Linda Robinson again. She's changed into another skirt suit. It is also very subdued. It's beige with a white blouse, but she looks nice. And Clayton,
you like the pattern on it? The pattern.
I did like the pattern. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got this cool little pattern. You kind of have to look closely to see it, but it's not like plaid or checkered. It's a different little like geometric lines.
Yeah, like V's or something, or triangles.
Yeah, triangles. And Clayton is chatting with Linda, and he's like, "Oh, last night I beat him at chess. I didn't want to say anything." He gets a hold of Dudek's medication list. Linda's was going to go back to the hotel and get medications. He glances at it, but this man has an amazing mind, and that's a glance is all it takes for him to memorize the list. So he says goodbye to Linda, and then he sits down to write down the list. And at that moment, Columbo walks up to him and sees him writing something down. And I didn't have too much to say about the scene. It might have been filmed at the actual hospital because you can see the overhead lights in the hallway. And it feels like often if it's a studio set, you might not see like a complete like ceiling. I don't know. Is that true, Paul? Or do they put in the ceilings for the...
I've never been on a studio lot filming. I did do this show, I didn't know I was pregnant, and it was like there's an area downtown that has these lofts. Downtown, there's some different places that rent out where you can shoot a short film or a reality show or a reenactment show. Like I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant as a reenactment show, and they had a hospital and they had all the different rooms for it. On another sort of indie feature I worked on, they had a fake hospital, and those didn't have ceilings. On another show, on Baskets, the Zach Galifianakis show that I worked on, season 1 and a little bit of season 2, but mostly I was in all of season, helped with all of season 1. There was a hospital near the 101. It's now closed. I think they might have demoed it now, but that was a real hospital that was closed down, and we shot in there.
Interesting.
So it was all real, but it was old stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of weird. I think it was supposedly haunted. I think some of the people were saying that. Some of the crew were saying that it's known to be that way. We shot in the day, thankfully, so didn't have to worry about that.
Ooh, creepy, Paul. Well, yeah, so I don't know where that was filmed exactly, but it looks like just a basic hospital. And Columbo walks out of the hospital with Clayton, and he's like, let me give you... Clayton's trying to call a cab or hail a cab to get back to his hotel, and Columbo's like, oh, let me give you a ride. These guys, they charge you an arm and a leg. And so Columbo takes Clayton back towards the hotel. And I have to say, I love this scene. It's one of those classic Columbo scenes where he is just talking to the murderer. It's like a test of the wits, kind of. But, in the Columbo way, where he's comes across as very unsuspecting.
Mm-hmm. When he's walking to the car, or both?
No, sorry, when they're in the car.
When they're in the car, okay, gotcha.
In the car driving. Yeah. And Columbo starts humming at one point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wonder what song that was.
And Clayton looks over at him. And you can see, I'm pretty sure they filmed in one of those cars on a lot with there's a word for it, Paul, with the like a projector behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's still like vintage Los Angeles. And it's still fun to see what's flashing past them, even though they're not actually driving to the city, but it's cool.
Yeah. I loved these two. Well, all the way into the restaurant. I loved Laurence Harvey. I loved him trying to convince Laurence Harvey to get into the car with him. Laurence Harvey's behavior, like he's so intense, like he's just really not wanting to reveal anything, but wanting to get the heck out of there. And then they go to Paul's, and then it says Paul's. The sign says Paul's, and in the parking lot it says Kosherama.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're both there at the same time, probably, huh? Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a great little scene. I think this is one of the little underappreciated moments that I needed to rewatch to really appreciate that. classic Columbo moment there between the two of them. Like you said, all the way from when they're leaving the hospital to while they're driving. And Columbo is driving him towards the hotel. And then Clayton points out, you missed the turn. And Columbo says, oh, well, let's stop here. I'm starving. And this place has great food. And so Columbo's bringing him to Kosherama. And Clayton knows, like, okay, Columbo has figured out that I was at Kosherama, probably Maison Gerard, last night. So Columbo starts to lay out some of his concerns to Dudek in this moment. And he pulls out this beautiful little travel chess set. And Clayton says, so the proprietor explains that the two men were playing chess and that Dudek pushed out a salt shaker and Clayton pushed out a pepper shaker. And he doesn't know who won. I think Columbo asks him if he knew who won. Anyhow, in this moment, Clayton's like, I won the game with Dudek. And then Columbo gets buzzed by the hospital. This is another one of those fun little surprise moments. He gets buzzed by the hospital, but it turns out it's the vet for his dog.
Clayton thinks it's whether they're going to find out whether Dudek is alive or dead.
I know. It's really so good.
So that was probably like a Columbo. Well, Columbo's always saying wherever he goes, but yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah, that was classic.
But I love how Clayton knows why he's there.
Yeah.
And he's just staring at Columbo and standing before he sits down. I love his look like, I know you're gay, man.
Yeah.
You're not fooling anybody.
There's a lot of good Clayton staring moments in this episode. Like he stares at himself in the mirror very early on.
Oh, did you notice you can see a crew member in the mirror when he sneaks into the room? It's either one or two people. It looks like a male. Yeah. It's when it goes in to do the
the medicine swap.
It's either the medicine swap or getting the clothes into the suitcase. The toothbrush and stuff.
Man, how did I miss that?
It's one of those two. I didn't notice the first time. Peter Falk, Cassavetes, Elaine May movie, Nikki and Mikey, where you see a sound gut person in the corner when Cassavetes freaking out about his ulcer in the very beginning of the film.
Oh, man.
But here it was just like they only had one shot to follow panning him, and they're like, we didn't catch it the first time, right? So
right. So probably most people, they're like, just go, it's fine, just go.
Yeah, it's like a weird ghost person in the hotel room.
Creepy. All right. Columbo gets buzzed by the hospital. Turns out it's the vet. Very funny moment there. And then we go back to the hotel. So there's kind of a lot of, I think they were trying to mix it up, right? Because there are not a ton of locations for this episode. It's like hospital or hotel. Like even the tournament is at the hotel and in the restaurant. But so Columbo leaves, but now Columbo and Clayton are back at the hotel. We learn that Dudek is stable, and we learn that Clayton has an amazing memory, and he repeats the first sentence that Columbo ever said to him backwards to Columbo, which is creepy.
Yeah, it's really weird. I like that.
Yeah. I'm curious now, and I wish I had looked at it. There are probably a fair number of people who have that kind of a memory. I'm curious, like how common is that to have that sort of a incredible memory where you remember like word for word what somebody said to you and you can repeat it backwards.
Yeah, there was a guy that I worked with. I can tell you his name. Let's see. It's called eidetic memory. Mary Lou Henner, the actress, has it, and you can remember everything. It's a little different actually. That is where you remember. You give them a date, and they can tell you what happened that day, what they did that day. That's like what is that called? Memory.
I should know that. I don't remember, but yes, I know. I do know that.
Highly superior autobiographical memory.
Okay. But this is different because he's remembering verbatim what Columbo said.
Exactly.
And also the image of the medicine list, the medication list. He's got it memorized instantly. Columbo found Dudek's notebook where Dudek recorded every single chess game he ever played, all the moves. And in Dudek's notebook, it says that white won Dudek didn't say who was who, which I think is really weird. You would think that a chess master would want to, maybe he just remembers, but you'd think that if you won the game or you lost the game, you would want to make a note, right?
You would say, I played this or played that.
Yeah. Because those games that you lost, you would want to study and you would want to be like, what happened? Where did I mess up?
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of writing, autobiographical writing and stuff from whether it's my dreams or events from the day, something that the kids did or I did or someone else did at work. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, but I don't always use but I usually am specific with people, but sometimes I am not specific, actually, depending on what it is. Mm-hmm. It's more rare, but I was wondering if he always knew he knows how good he is.
Yeah.
And he just sort of like, maybe he wants to see it a certain way. Like, as in, this is the game. These are the moves that each person had. So you're sort of seeing it from a different way, especially like someone who played themselves, right?
Right.
Who is it? You said the guy who's from
Magnus.
Yeah,
Carlsen.
he plays himself, right?
Yeah, that's how he got started. I don't know that he still plays himself.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's how he got started, though. But no, you're right. It could be that the assumption is that all of the games he has won, right? He's the winner. So that if there was a game that Dudek lost, maybe then he would make a note.
And if you're world class and you have the strength of mind, confidence to give kindness to other people, like Dudek does, you're really grounded. You know what I mean? Like you've gone so far already. People will want to publish your work when you're dead. I don't know. I think I could see the eccentricity of that kind of writing. If I mean, it's for the plot. If he wrote it, then we would, they would know that he lost.
Yeah.
So, but I could see that with certain people who whether they're an actor or let's say a poet or that might do things differently. Didn't Einstein always wear the same outfit? So he wouldn't have to think about it when he just put it on.
Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg do that, or Steve Jobs did that, and Mark Zuckerberg does that.
So they probably knew that Einstein did it, so they probably like to think that they were like Einstein. But before Einstein, I don't know who else did that. I don't know. Well, I could just see you know what I mean? Like I could see Dudek doing that. It kind of fits in some ways. Yeah. Easily to me. But you're right. And then at the same time, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe that is kind of odd. But he what I'm saying is like he doesn't have the ego to say like, he could be this sort of eccentric person who he knows he would win, or he knows he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. So he's just going to see it as a game. How did this game go down?
Columbo's like, all right, man. So Dudek says that white won. The proprietor said that Dudek was the white side of the match. I'm sure that's not the chess word for it. I don't know what the chess word is for it. Dudek was white. Clayton's like, no, I was white.
Yeah.
So then it's like a he said situation. But Columbo's definitely onto this guy. Columbo knows. And Clayton knows that he's got to take care of Dudek. He's got to get rid of this guy. And he breaks into Dudek's hotel room to mess up the medication that Dudek needs over at the hospital. So he basically, I don't know how he pulled this off, but he has some medication bottles that have the same label as Dudek's medication bottles, but apparently he has swapped out the ingredients.
Well, he could have swapped out the ingredients before in his bottles and then just switched the bottles, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like, no, because he takes Dudek's bottles out of the box and then puts new bottles into the box.
Right.
So the new bottles couldn't have come from the I mean, he had to somehow have like some chemistry kit to like, change out what was in those bottles. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he knew what the guy needed, he would just get those on his own, pretend he needs them, and then put whatever erratic poison or whatever would have an adverse effect to him in his own bottles, the ones he just bought, inject those in there and remove,
But how did he know what to put in there?
He's
so
smart.
Last minute. Yeah,
He's
you're
smart.
right. He's very, so
he's
very last minute, he's able to create an alternative substance that's deadly.
Yeah, it's not as strong as a suture.
Yeah, this one's a little more like, how did he pull this together so fast? This is a kind of a cool, creepy scene because Clayton is in the middle of swapping out the medicine, or he finishes it, but he doesn't get out of the bathroom before Linda comes in to get the medicine. And he has to hide. And we don't really see what happens to him. This is another one of those, like, the viewer has to connect the dots until Linda leaves. And then we see the closet door, like, slide open and he comes out. It's a good little creepy moment for sure.
Yeah, the whole scene's great as soon as he enters the room. And that is when you see the guy in the mirror, or two people in the mirror.
Oh, okay, it is that scene.
Yeah, before he gets into the bathroom, he crosses a mirror, and that's where you see people.
Ooh, that makes that scene even creepier.
It is. It's great. It's like, oh, those are the sound guys.
Yeah. Very good. All right, well, Paul, we better go pick up Dog because Dog is done with his procedure. And I love that Columbo is always carrying Dog when they interact. He's got him up in his arms. And I get it. I kind of get it. I think maybe that was easier to film. I don't know. Versus filming Dog on the floor and Columbo. I was just going to say, it's cute. Like, I don't know if they did that for practical filming purposes, but it's really cute.
Well, he thinks he's going to have to take him, but yeah, and I love that he doesn't have a name for it because it's like the studio or someone at the Universal wanted them to have the dog, right? They wanted this additional thing, and Link and Levinson didn't want it. So Levinson and Link are gone. It's Dean Hargrove and his team. They put the dog in, but Peter Falk's like, well, we don't need to name it. Like, I love that there's no name. It's so cool. It's cool. Sort of a compromise of creativity.
Sure. It's like we have enough gimmicks, right? Or co-stars. So let's not give this co-star like too much cred, let's just, he's just
because his wife, right? We know an uncle, and we know, is it Uncle Harry? He mentions in this one?
In the Shooting Columbo book, he talks about, or maybe it's I think it's Shooting Columbo. It's like his trench coat and his car. Those are like co-stars. They're like part of his gimmick. And so he felt like that was enough. Oh, speaking of, Paul, he is wearing his old shoes again in this episode.
Yeah. Yep. I love those shoes. Those are cool.
They're really great. I'm so curious what happened in the last episode that he was wearing different boots.
Well, they could have shot him at different times, and they air him at different, because the Stitch and Crime actually was supposed to be, was the first one they filmed. I think he said that. I think Koenig said that.
Okay.
Does he wear his pants up so high so often? Does he do that? Okay, yeah, I kind of like that. I guess because I have
that's how I like my pants up high.
So
it's my favorite way to wear them.
So, well, it's like an old thing too, right? From the 30s and the 20s. Mm-hmm. It's the pear-shaped.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, I'm all about it. High-waisted.
So sad.
I have no problem with that. Back to the hospital. We are winding down here. Columbo is hot on the trail here. Just a couple more scenes. So I can't remember. I think maybe Columbo gets beeped when he's at the vet and he has to go back to the hospital. And yeah there's a problem.
Because there's a problem.
Dudek woke up for a moment and it's not totally clear, but Columbo gets buzzed back to the hospital and we see that we learn that Dudek was stable, but now they're trying to revive him with the paddles, the defibrillators, or a defibrillator. I guess it's not plural. And this scene is a little non-traditional Columbo scene. It's like this poor man is in the process of dying. Don't normally see that. He's not wearing a shirt. I can't believe that they would let Columbo into a hospital room while they're trying to save a person's life.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I guess they didn't. Did they know he was a? Well, I mean, he is the guy on the case.
I mean, I just imagine that if someone's in the, they're trying to save a life, it's like everyone needs to stay out of here right now. But instead, Columbo's there.
Yeah, true. And that one guy shouting at him, and what language is that? Would that be Balkan? He speaks in a different language to him as he's dying.
It's a little bit of a grim scene.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't survive. He passes away. And now we go back to the hotel again. And Linda Robinson is at the hotel in one of the restaurants. So like I mentioned at the top of our episode, there's the Portuguese cafe, there's 4 stages, and there's a coffee shop. I'm pretty sure this next scene with Linda is in the Portuguese restaurant. And I think my guess is it was the Portuguese restaurant because there's all these really pretty white and blue tiles around. Yeah, super beautiful.
Yeah, I love those. The table and on the wall. You can see the sign in the back by the exit sign, the sign of the restaurant. I can't zoom in on it, but it's there. It's just not in focus.
Well, anyhow, these white and blue tiles are a pretty traditional Portuguese tile. They're called azulejos. I might not be saying that right, but it's like blue. Azul is blue. Azulejos. I don't know. And you can see these all over Portugal, but you can see these also in Portuguese restaurants in the U.S. Sometimes they're really simple. They're not simple, but sometimes they're more of the like floral, symmetrical designs. And sometimes it'll be like a whole landscape, almost like a painting on a series of tiles done in white and blue. So I'm pretty sure they're in the Portuguese restaurant. I could not find out how long this restaurant was there or when it closed. It's really hard to figure that out online. Maybe if I went to a library or something, I could figure it out. But
have you ever been to a Portuguese restaurant?
I don't think so. Have you?
I don't think so either. Yeah, maybe in Spain or like somewhere. I don't think here. Maybe I don't think so.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, I haven't. It's a really pretty space, and Columbo talks to Linda. She's wearing a pretty like pink sweater with this brooch that's like a little cluster of purple grapes with a grape leaf on top. It's a cute little piece of jewelry. And Columbo learns that Clayton did see Dudek's list of medications. And I think that's all Columbo needs to really close this thing up. Linda's like, he only glanced at it for a moment, but Columbo says, yeah, but that's all that Dudek needs is a moment to memorize something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great little scene how he has her reenact it. How did she do it? How, like she gets the napkin. Mm-hmm. He said, show me with this. Yeah, I like this scene.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, so then we get to the very last scene here. We're still at the hotel, and now Columbo has his dog, and they're back in the trash compactor room, and Columbo's sort of hanging out in there, kind of thinking. We have a really close call where dog runs up the stairs towards the trash compactor, and Columbo books it up the stairs. But the employees point out that, don't worry, this thing shuts off automatically. I can't remember exactly why it shuts off automatically. Maybe it's like if it's too big or something, too large of a...
If it's already running.
Oh.
If it's already going, then...
Okay. And so in that moment, Columbo figures out exactly what he needs to know to pin this on Clayton. So now we go to Clayton, still in the hotel, but now he's in one of the ballrooms. He's playing a chess match. He's got 10 matches going at once. I kind of wanted to do a little dive on these multi matches, how these grandmasters play like multiple people at once. But I was like, I think I've talked about chess enough. But people do this, right? Where you play like 20 people, 30 people, 50 people at once.
Or even the history that the matches he mentions would be really cool to find out about.
So Columbo shows up, and Columbo has a few more pieces of info to share with Clayton. One, the ink in Clayton's pen that Columbo returned to him at the hospital is the same ink that was used by Dudek to write that vague note. And I can't remember what else he points out, but he gets Clayton to come with him at some point to the garbage chute, and they have this sort of interesting, like, shouting conversation where Columbo points out, like, when Dudek fell into the garbage chute, it turned off automatically, but only a deaf person wouldn't realize that because you wouldn't be able to hear it, because I guess I guess he couldn't hear it because his hearing aid was broken. But even if it wasn't broken, he turned it off in that space because it was just so much to listen to.
Well, I think one thing I thought about is, like, I could see that. Okay, that's the plot. That makes sense. But when you are deaf, I mean, you also can feel vibrations and stuff, and that signals certain things. I felt like that he would have felt a vibration stop. But if you're killing somebody and you've never done it before and you are deaf,
it's your first murder victim.
You could also, you think you're done. I'm out of here. I'm getting the hell out of here. Right? He's supposed to die. So, yeah. But yeah, I was I like that sort of reveal. I wish it had more of his internal struggle being deaf and the dreams he was having. Because when he's trying to hear Columbo with the thing out of his ear, like, I love that sort of, that trait that he has. It's sort of, you almost, I wanted to like him more, like find out why he is so fearful of losing. Why can't he afford to have this person beat him? What is it in his life from his past, or something? I mean, they don't usually go into that too much, but like Lady in Waiting, I think you got a good sense of Susan Clark.
Yeah.
That character she played.
Totally.
Of who she is and where she's been and where she's going. She's always been pushed in the corner. Right.
Yeah, this one's interesting. It's like it's all just this one match, right, between these two men. We don't really know anything about where they're coming. Well, I guess there's the Linda Robinson thing, but that Clayton doesn't seem to care at all about her. But other than her, there's no tie to any kind of history or
they don't talk about
personal life or anything. It's like, we're here for this match, and this is everything to me. That makes a lot of sense too. If you're a world champion, like those championship matches, that's all there is in the moment to drive to insanity.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been a world champion, so.
Yeah, well, there was the Tanya Harding, the ice skater. She didn't plan for her to hurt the other girl, but her friend did. Like, I mean, I saw the film that they made.
A documentary?
No, the one with the actors with Margot Robbie, I think her name is. It's a little. I like a lot of it. I love watching her. I love the scenes with her skating and the music. Mm-hmm. Like, that was so cool to watch. The fighting between her and her husband, they were both violent to each other, was done like kind of like Goodfellas, but like almost like comedically. Mm-hmm. Real quick, Goodfellas definitely took from the movie Darling. the one that had Laurence Harvey and won the Oscar for Julie Christie, and Dirk Bogarde was in it. John Schlesinger, yeah, because it pauses on people and you hear the person narrate. And Goodfellas, and definitely took from Darling, but Darling could have taken from somewhere else too. But I was like, oh, okay, because a lot of filmmakers who've done some gangster films like Menace to Society, the Hughes brothers, they sort of copied Scorsese, not realizing that Scorsese had taken from other people, I don't think. But anyway, getting back to Tonya Harding, yeah, so the other skater was injured during that competition, so Tonya Harding could win, right? So that kind of stuff can happen, I suppose, but
I'm sure
a little different here. But I wonder if more of it happens and we just don't know.
No,
with basketball players or football players, or like someone getting seduced, someone paying someone else to seduce a player at a club or something like, I don't know.
It must happen. I mean, the fact that the whole Tonya Harding thing happened, there has to be more cases like this where champions take illegal steps to bring the other one down. Although maybe people learned from Tonya Harding and no one does it anymore.
Well, I think if I can only speak for that film, which I think Tonya, traveled with some of the people, or she did a lot of talking about the film. It was Nancy Kerrigan that got injured.
Oh, right.
I think, I don't know enough about it really to say what was going on with Tonya, but I feel like the interview I saw with her, like the recent interview, she seemed very sincere and,
Oh, that's cool. Like apologetic, you mean? Like sincerely?
Yeah,
apologetic.
but I don't think it was her intention to get the other person hurt. When you watch the movie, her ex-husband is friends with this guy who thinks they want him to injure her, but they wanted him to scare her. I can't remember, but he kind of messed up basically, I think, and shouldn't have. It's follies. It's kind of dark humor.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
very dark.
yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's it. They have this shouting match, and they keep shouting even though the machine's turned off, and that's when Clayton realizes that he's busted, I guess. It's not the most satisfying gotcha, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But there's so many little pieces of information that, Columbo definitely has a case against this guy, so.
I did like their shouting as they're walking up the stairs, even though it's just sort of shouting clumsy. But I do think the performers were really kind of going at it. They're both very different styles, and so I think it was a good match because Laurence Harvey was a serious actor. He never stopped working. He produced, direct. He took over for Anthony Mann, who passed away on this film he did with Mia Farrow called The Dandy Aspic, or the Dandy in Aspic. I'm not saying it right. He plays a spy, some sort. But just looking at Peter Falk's reaction, Laurence Harvey didn't want to do too much TV. He did a lot of theater, which helped him with his skill set. But this was a nice matching. I did like it.
Yeah. Well, should we go into our rating, Paul?
Yeah, for sure.
You want to give us a number from 1 to 10 where you would say this episode?
I would give it lower. I think the first time I saw it kind of maybe drug a little bit. And I don't know why. Maybe it's the locations being stuck there. It could be not knowing enough about Laurence Harvey. And maybe I feel like I've seen this one a couple times before, a long time ago. And it still had a certain weight to it. So it's like 7.5, I think.
Oh, well, that's still pretty good.
Yeah. No, I love Krushen. I love Krushen and Harvey together. I like sort of the turns it takes. I think it could have been more with Heidi Bruhl, the ex-wife. I wish she had more.
Did you want to say anything about her? We didn't get to chat about Linda much.
I watched a movie called The Eiger Sanction that Clint Eastwood directed. That was pretty interesting. It was a pretty epic kind of movie. Beginning, I think, was much stronger than the rest. Definitely dated, has a lot of misogynistic, sexist lines that you're just like, woo, you couldn't say that now. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Just like, and racist, like,
oh boy. Yeah.
You're just like, oh my gosh.
Like, ugh, fast forward.
Clint Eastwood stuff. I was talking to a friend last night about that. He watched, he's talking about Animal House, and he's just saying like, some things that just don't, they're made by different thoughts and different people now, and
a different time,
different
crew.
Era. Yeah. And it's good. But it's definitely affects it. But it's interesting because now you can see it's, if you're from a different background, if you're African American and you grew up watching television or whatever, you see like it's a whole other, you've always seen that. You've always had problems with what you're watching.
Right.
And so for me, we have some mix in our background.
Yeah.
I do think it helped us moving around, like living in Germany. I think that helped us in terms of widening our point of view,
right,
to see more clearly. So she was in that film, and very similar. You don't know if she's a bad guy in it, but there wasn't enough for her. I was kind of bummed out. She gets top billing. She's like one of the top billed people. I liked her in this. I think she's very subtle and quiet, and truthful. But I almost wish that there was a little bit more.
Yeah.
Against the coach is almost overacting.
Right.
Like, so it's a kind of a good contrast, and it speaks well of her as a performer. Even though Bochner, is a solid actor, but you could see like, wow,
yes,
one's pushing the feeling, and the other is being more natural.
Yeah.
What did you think of Laurence Harvey?
Yeah, I thought he did a really good job. He was just very convincing of being this really brilliant mind, and also having a temper and this terrified side to him. I thought he did a good job. And the hearing aid, like I Googled, like, was he really hard of hearing? Because I thought he did a really good job with the hearing aid piece too. Yeah, I liked him. But I will say that, if we go back to the rating here, that I would go even a bit lower. I think this is more like a 6.5 for me.
Okay.
And well, me, like I appreciate more than just the acting.
Yeah.
I want like a fun party, and I want some fun costumes. I want a little bit more of that like vintage look and feel, and this is a little bit more subdued in all of the background. Like I'm not sucked into the 70s as much here. It's a little bit more of a gray beige kind of experience.
Yeah. And
then also the gotcha moment at the end. You have to you're like, what? How is this? How is Columbo wrapping this up? You have to kind of like listen and pay attention. It's not like a slap you in the face kind of moment, which is more fun. But at the same time, there's those, maybe I should be closer to 7. I don't know, because there's those really great moments between Columbo and Clayton that are like the epitome of what makes this show so great, is like this, detective facing off with a murderer, and just those little moments that they have together. And he's trying to come across as unassuming and unsuspecting, and the murderer is not really sure how to interpret him. So there's just some really nice moments in this episode that get at the core of who Columbo is. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think I'm definitely being generous. Laurence Harvey, so he died, not too long after this.
Yeah.
But so he was, he was struggling with pain and stuff. And I have to say, he was a strong actor to deliver the way he did in this, and knowing what he was going through.
Yeah, that's awful.
I watched another film called Night Watch that he did, and that one was a little tough to watch him because I could tell he was at that point. Even the Night Gallery episode, you can sort of see his behavior is a little more stilted and still not moving around as much,
Oh, poor guy.
But the music in this, in the beginning, there's a few moments that are really good. Mm-hmm. I think some of the music it's from other episodes too, but stuff in the beginning, some of it seemed new. I think there was like some piano stuff with the nightmare. But this was definitely an interesting one. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy watching these performers.
Well, Paul, do you have a little true-false trivia quiz for me here tonight?
Yeah. Let's see
what I can do. I'm going to try to bring it. All right.
See if you can get 100 out of 100.
Anyone who's made it this far, you got to be rooting for me here.
I want to say this. The first time I saw Laurence Harvey was in the Anne Baxter film called Walk on the Wild Side. And
wait, is this a trivia? Is this the start of the trivia?
No, sorry. We'll go there. Yeah. It was the one that was John Fonte was one of the writers. The opening credits are Saul Bass. Is that his name? Or is that a regular writer? I can't remember. Anyway, that was I think it got crappy reviews and didn't do very well. But I like the film. I think it's pretty cool. And I thought Laurence Harvey was really interesting to watch. I didn't know where he was from because I watched it for Anne Baxter. Mm-hmm. But he's the lead, and Jane Fonda's in it. And
so cool.
So, and what's interesting is it's set in New Orleans, and the whorehouse that he goes to at a big part of the film is also the apartment complex that in this other film set in New Orleans, where Paul Newman and his wife Joanne Woodward live. Yeah, and that one's called WUSA, and it also has Laurence Harvey. He did 2 films with Laurence Harvey. Paul Newman. Okay, sorry. So I got off track. I just wanted to say Laurence Harvey is a very...
I'm like, true, false, true. Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Both Krushen and Harvey always dreamed of working with Orson Welles, but never got to.
I'm going to say true. That seems like a good dream for most actors.
Okay, so
Uh-oh.
Krushen, did radio for years, so he knew Orson Welles did radio. Never got to work with him.
Okay.
Laurence Harvey, when he was young and had first moved to London, he heard that Orson Welles was living in Europe. So he and a bunch of friends went to try and find where he lived in Europe. So they got a car and found out that he had moved somewhere else. Anyway, Harvey got to be in 3 films with him.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, one of the films he didn't get to act with him. That was the first one. The second one was a film called The Deep. It was made into a film with Sam Neill and Nicole Kidman called Dead Calm. It's based on a book, but Orson Welles did his own version of that with Jean Moreau, his life partner, I forget her name, and Laurence Harvey. I've seen scenes of it, and it looks pretty cool. It's the same as Dead Calm. It's just with Laurence Harvey playing the bad guy, I think, but Laurence Harvey died before they could finish it. But they had shot a lot of footage of it. So I saw like about 7 minutes of it. And it's in the documentary F for Fake by Orson Welles. And Laurence Harvey is himself in that as well. Like he waves to Orson Welles at the airport.
I should have known. I should have known. Of course, Laurence Harvey did something with Orson Welles.
Okay. So the actress, Heidi Bruhl, was married to the guy who was remember the guy, his name was Ken Archer in Death Lends a Hand. He was the golf instructor. Mm-hmm. She was married to him.
No, Paul. Are you kidding me?
Is it true or false?
I feel like you would have brought this up before. I got to say false.
You really?
Is it true?
It's true. It's true.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you held that back until now, Paul. That's like a huge little factoid.
Yeah. Okay. And
I am not doing well tonight. I am 0 for 2. Okay. What's the last one?
So
what do you got?
Laurence Harvey's daughter has been an editor on the reality show Survivor.
Oh, Paul. What? Okay, I'm going to say yes. True.
What?
I'm wrong again.
Oh, is it true or false?
I'm going to say true.
It's false. His real daughter was actually a what do you call it? A bounty hunter.
No way.
Yeah, they made a movie about her, and Keira Knightley played her in the movie. It's called Domino.
Wow.
Yeah, it's with Mickey Rourke, Edgar Wright, is that his name? And directed by Tony Scott, Ridley Scott's brother.
Oh.
Yeah, she actually passed away before the movie came out.
Oh, no. What?
She was tough, man.
What happened with her?
I don't know. She had a heart attack. One of the producers.
Oh my gosh, because she can't be that old.
She's like Sean's age, our brother Sean.
Oh, but that's not that old, Paul.
No, that's what I'm saying. She's not old. No, okay. I was agreeing with you. She's not old.
She had a heart attack.
Yeah. So the guy, then it was written by the guy who wrote Donnie Darko.
Oh, I love Donnie Darko.
Yeah, so that writer-director, who's really talented, he interviewed her, Domino Harvey. Mm. And Domino is named after Dominique Sanda, who was a wonderful actress who was like in Bertolucci's 1900. She was a model before she performed in film. The mother of Domino, blanking on her name.
Paul, what's the name? Let's go, man.
Paula Stone?
I'm just kidding.
Probably wrong.
It's okay.
Anyway,
it's okay.
Jacqueline Bisset plays her in the movie. She was a model too. And Dominique Sanda was one of her friends. And they always liked the name Domino. Okay, so let's see. We'll do...
So that's 0 for 3 for me. Thank goodness we're not doing this for money.
Yeah. Okay.
Man.
All right, so...
Well, let me just say that I could imagine that Laurence Harvey's daughter was a model, right? Because he's like tall and lanky and handsome, and I bet his daughter was...
She's beautiful.
Beautiful.
If you rent the movie Domino, if they have the behind the scenes, she's there. She was there on set with them. Mm-hmm.
I bet she's beautiful.
She's very beautiful, yeah. She's very interesting looking.
That's so sad. She died kind of young.
Yeah, I don't know if she had issues with drugs or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
her dad didn't make it that long either. I mean, what was he in his 50s when he passed
45.
away? Gosh,
he'd been 45 for 2 months. Yeah, he had two brothers, and his parents. They all ended up moving to Israel. The book that Anne Sinai wrote, I think it's a really good book. It's a real. She wanted to make a good book, good biography. So if you want to know about Laurence Harvey, I highly recommend that. Cool.
We'll put that in our show notes.
Yeah. I'll give you one more.
Oh, yay. A chance to redeem myself.
Yeah. So Jack Krushen, he did radio in New York, and he might have done some out here too. And in radio, they used to play jokes on each other all the time. Like they would change the clocks. Like let's say they had to be on the air at a certain time. They would change the clocks and not tell one of the people, like a producer or something, so they would think they'd have to go on the air. So, they would do all kinds of crazy stuff. But one of the jokes he told live on the air, and because of that, all the shows had to be pre-recorded after that because of a joke that Jack Krushen told live.
These questions are so hard.
You can ask questions if you want.
Okay.
Because you never usually ask questions.
I know. I should ask more questions.
You can be a detective, right?
Gosh, I know. Where's my inner Columbo in these moments? Should have a little more of that.
You just got to read Paul's body language.
Oh, I don't. I mean, I'm watching you, but I'm not that good at that. Okay. I'm just going to say true.
No, it's not true. No, so actually it was Laurence Harvey. He loved to tell dirty jokes.
Oh,
and so he was live on one of the BBC radio shows or something. So after he told that joke, it was like some dirty joke, they always had to pre-record the radio shows.
Laurence Harvey.
So, yeah, he was a whirlwind. He loved going out wearing the most fitted clothes.
Would he go out wearing bathrobes?
Probably. Journalists would interview him, and he would be in his bathrobe. He had a long-term lover, James Wolfe, who also helped him break through. They really understood each other. He was married, and his wives did know about him being with men.
He was gay?
Yeah.
Or he was bisexual?
I think he was bisexual. Okay. Yeah, according to that book, he seemed more bisexual. He had a very... his mom, the Manchurian Candidate was one of the biggest films he did. He is the Manchurian Candidate. He was the one who was like brainwashed. That is intense. And Angela Lansbury plays his mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's one of Dad's favorite films.
Yeah, that's a good film.
True or false?
True. Right? Oh, gosh, I can't handle any more humiliation tonight, Paul. Okay.
Well, those are complicated
the
questions.
Those are like impossible to answer. No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Keep me on my toes, Paul.
And so Heidi Bruhl's son was an editor on Survivor. True or false?
Oh, no, I can't handle any more.
True. It's true. It's true. He's still here. He does the announcing for Survivor.
No way.
And maybe Big Brother or something.
That's cool. So he has a good voice. Good voice.
Mm-hmm. And okay, true or false? He was in Munich when we were in Munich.
True.
I think so.
Okay.
Because his mom was did some German TV shows at Bavaria Film Studios, and he did live in Munich. So, but in 1983.
She's a German name. She's German?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what was that? 1 out of 7?
I could do one more.
No.
Lloyd Bochner
stop.
In The Detective. Dr. Robert, the Beatles, that's the Beatles song Dr. Roberts is based on that character from this Frank Sinatra movie, The Detective.
You have to sing me the Beatles song first.
Dr. Robert. I don't know the lyrics, but it's like Dr. Robert.
That's all you know?
Here we go. Dr. Robert lyrics. I was listening to it the other day. It's like,
I don't know this
ring my friend. I said you'd call Dr. Robert. Day or night, he'll be there anytime at all. Dr. Robert. Yeah, sorry, it's terrible.
I don't know that Beatles song, and I don't know the answer, Paul.
Yeah, it's false.
Okay, good.
His name was Dr. Roberts with an S in the Detective movie, which is an interesting, odd film. But it was trying to shed light on police brutality.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and racism, homophobia. The book was probably pretty good. The movie is interesting. Like it was interesting to watch. I enjoyed watching it. Robert Duvall's in it. Frank Sinatra's pretty good in it. Lloyd Bochner's good in it.
Okay, what's the name of that one, Paul? To put in our show notes.
The Detective.
The Detective. Okay, Paul, we better wrap this up.
Yes. Okay.
Well, thank you to Maxime Gervais for our theme song, Columbo.
Thank you, Maxime.
And this podcast is edited by John Warenas. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And if you'd like to add to our conversation, you can email us at trenchcoatcigar@gmail.com or find us on Instagram at trenchcoatcigar. Also, if you could give our podcast a rating and a review wherever you listen, that really helps our show and helps more listeners to find us. So, Paul, one more thing before we go.
No, Liz, what is it?
Thanks for listening.
Yay!
Yay!
Rien à foutre devant l'expertise policière. T'avais un plan sans faille, pensez à chaque détail. L'inspecteur Colombo pensera toujours en dehors de la boîte. Toujours un cousin qui a eu un lavoto, qui a fait de la moto, qui a gagné à l'auto. Dès le premier coup d'œil, dès les premiers mots, sur le crime se resserrent les taux de l'inspecteur Colombo.